Dances of Us shares the journeys of dancers and communities from underrepresented backgrounds. Each episode highlights how movement becomes a language of identity, memory, resistance, and hope. Hello, my name is Lerna and I am the host of Dances of Us podcast. Hi, today we are together with Darion Adams. Darion Adams is a multifaceted freelance artist, dancer, educator, choreographer, and project director. They use dance as a transformative tool to explore identity, politics, heritage, and their queer indigenous experience. Darion has collaborated with various renowned companies, including Unmute Dance Company, Queer Feminist Film Festival, Sunshine Cinema, and Hear My Voice SA. As the founder of the AIM Society, Darion is committed to reshaping the cultural landscape of Manenberg through multidisciplinary art initiatives in Cape Town, Africa. Also passionate about screen dance films, Darion's works have been screened internationally. Darion is speaking to us from a white painted room in France. They are originally from Cape Town with Khoisan heritage. Darion has black short hair, brown eyes and brown skin. They are wearing white long-sleeved t-shirt and a colorful patterned blue, gray and white mixed scarf. Hello Darion, welcome to Dances of Us podcast.
Hello, Lerna. How are you? Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here with you. Yeah.
I'm excited as well. Finally, we are together. And I just want to start my questions to you. Can you tell me about your earliest memories of dance?
So my early memories of dance is I think of my immediate family and my family. It would be my mom telling us stories of when she was younger, and her and herself. She's the eldest of 7 kids, but then they used to go to the club and they'd be dancing all night because everyone in my family can dance and move. So family dancing has been quite a big part of my life. So
Yes.
my first exposure to dance or experiences of dance has been through my family, my uncles and aunts, and their stories about when they were younger and how much fun they had, how much naughty stuff they did, coming from the clubs and the dances that they would host, these jazz nights. So, and my brother used to be a very popular dancer, so I definitely have um, exposure to dance from my family mostly. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, I was never exposed to, unless it was in a movie, but any type of classical type of training, contemporary or hip hop or ballet. No, I had none of those at first. It was really through my family and us dancing together at functions or at home. Yeah.
Yeah. And where was this clubbing was happening? Were you in a city or which region, which country, where was happening?
So my mom, I don't think she was definitely a city girl. My mom, they definitely clubbed in the immediate area. There'd be at a community hall. There'd be like these dance events where there'd be a DJ, and they'd party there. They call it a fat jam, if I remember correctly. So they went to the fat jams weekly. I think that's where my mom and my father even. But then it would happen at home in Manenberg, where I'm from, in like at a center close by, and
Yeah.
everyone knew that on a Friday and a Saturday they'd go to the Fat Jam and party, and my mom would just say how her and my uncle would take over the dance floor. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So these were all happening in the Cape Town then.
In Cape Town on the Cape Flats, yes. Mm.
Yeah, in the south of Africa, just the age, yeah. And then this was your childhood memories with whole family dancing and clubbing, and how then dance become a language or a refuge for you, how you develop your connection and how it become more main thing in your life.
Yeah, the dance as a refuge. I've been dancing since 5 years old. So I started dancing in church, and then I went to Alexander Sinton High School, where I got my first experience of contemporary dance, and then I went to study at University of Cape Town, and then
Mhm.
dance theatre. And at each stage of my dancing journey, that was definitely as a queer LGBTQIA plus kid who was bullied a lot, and definitely I ended up often being alone, or being you could find me alone, keeping myself really busy and entertained.
Mhm, mhm.
That dance was the one time where where it feels as if whatever I couldn't say was definitely being expressed, either through the songs I was dancing on in church, or through either dancing at home or in my little room. I definitely could find the communications that I did not necessarily experience, um, because I was definitely a loner when I was younger. Dance allowed me to at least tell those stories to myself. And
Yes.
there are other ways that it did happen, and I think that's why I'm a multifaceted person now. But it was, I think, the way I could communicate
Mhm.
things
I
I
will go.
didn't know how to express. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I will go to deeper to these stories of otherness, but I just want to ask you, how was your church dance experience? Like, were you dancing some scenes from the Bible, or what was the context of this church dance, or it was a free dance workshops by the church? Can you
Uh,
tell this?
yeah, dancing in church. It was free for the people who attended the church, and you would be either dancing or I would say ministering to the people on either specific gospel music. And if the song had a specific focus and the service was about a focus, you'd be dancing to that. We'd always be practicing a new song for the next service or for the next Sunday service event. And it wasn't technical in any regard. It was literally you emulating the words through this deep, meaningful expression from the soul, from God to the body to the soul to the people. That was my first exposure to of storytelling and dance, and I really appreciate that journey because it means something now. But yeah, it was really informal. It wasn't technical. It was formal, free. You'd be dancing. You could make up your own dancing in your own way. There was no rules or something. You'd have someone, a leader, who would guide your process, or guide the group in the storytelling. And it had all of the things that make up a dance: the formations, a beginning, middle, and end, a climax, because the song had a climax.
Yeah, yeah.
It had all of the good juices, but it was free for you could just express it in whichever way suits you. No one made the rules. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds very interesting because in the modern life and then previously than modern life, mostly all these temples which belong to these three main religion were very serious places actually. And then now you come together with this all dancing and free moving and no technique, and then a leader, and then just interpreting the words. Sounds very interesting to have it in religious place, which is very nice at the same time from my point of view.
Yeah, it was beautiful because I think you were allowed, because of its significance to the specific religious group, which is the Christian community, you were allowed to express and tell the story in a way that you wanted to express it to the people. Uh,
Yeah, yeah,
in that moment, it was about
yeah,
the
yeah,
so
yeah.
it meant a lot.
Yeah, so I know that there are different types of movement and dance rituals in many other religions, but I didn't hear and meet so many free forms of the dance, as you said. So thanks for sharing with us. And then I just want to ask you, what cultural or ancestral lineage informs your movements?
So, for context, I am a Khoi and or San descendant in the Cape. So I come from a community whose language and culture does not necessarily exist within South Africa,
Hmm.
popularly, or in a mainstream context because of genocide and erasure and colonialism and white superiority and imperialism and all of the white power, English abuse and violence against people of color
Yeah.
in the Cape. But being a coincident descendant, being a modern contemporary coincident descendant and person, that informs a lot of my language. It's either the historical stories of Khoi San people, or the modern contextualized language that we live in now as a displaced people in the Cape.
Yeah.
by way of the Group Areas Act. I don't want to say the date because I'm going to butcher it, but it's the 19th something, and it's during the apartheid era, where my mom and her family and a lot of people who are racially classified as colored people forcibly removed from where they lived to where I live now. So those are the kind of stories in my lineage and ancestral lines from very recent to way back that inform my movement practice often. And I didn't know it up until the last few years.
Mm.
I wanted to center and focus it around that. I think it's been something that I've been very passionate about. So yeah, being an indigenous Khoisan San person and being coming from marginalized background, coming from a strategically undervalued space and experience, and that's what informs my practice at the moment.
Yeah, I can feel that all these layers, although some of them might be a little bit painful, but today they're all transforming, they're all coming to your artistic practice with a certain richnesses, displacement stories happening uh, outskirts of the centers. We don't
Mm,
see it in the big cities so much. We don't see it in a big cultural or commercial areas, but things are happening more in the outskirts. And
yeah.
then people have different stories there, really, with different emotions, situations, and then it's not easy to stay as a survival as well.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, definitely you are right. And I can confirm too that it does happen on the outskirts.
Yeah.
It's either we dance in the city or we dance away from the city, and often the real juice for context is that happens at the periphery
Mm.
of mainstream society and mainstream.
Yeah. I want to go deeper to this topic and want to ask you how colonialism, migration, and displacement shape your dance story.
Um, at the for me, politics and art activism sits at the same table. So I am I work in a multifaceted way so that we can unearth these stories. So they inform my practice quite largely because of the reality, my upbringing, and where I'm from. So I'm born and raised in Manenberg, Cape Town, which is on the Cape Flats, the Cape Flats is a large place where people were forcibly removed to and displaced from their city side living. Let's call it there. Now where a lot of white people live. A
Yeah.
lot of white people live. And those very painful stories are stories that I want to share with the people, as we said, on the periphery. And I want us to be reminded of our power through our pain. And I wish to, so it informs a lot of what I do and how I wish to amplify those stories by way through a healing practice of dance and movement within the community, within the lens of the people who are strategically marginalized and on the periphery. Um, that is where I'm sitting that's where I'm sitting at the moment with my work. Mm.
Accordingly, so you do stage performances and you do community work as well, where
Yes,
you use dance as a healing and then maybe revealing the stories and going beyond the story.
yes. I do. I'm quite locked into community performances now. I do stage work, but that's my job as a working artist thing. That is just for money,
Yeah.
and I'm quite okay with that. I'm quite happy to be now sitting in France, doing a job working while I'm also working in community or liaising in community. Um, because that's my job, but my life's work is working community. Work with the people, work with in under-resourced places where people have very limited access to an artistic practice or medium and the benefits thereof. Mm.
Yeah, I know you have a foundation. You establish actually foundation for children and probably for the adults as well. So, are you operating through your association, your foundation, or like ends, let's say? Are you giving like a one-shot workshops, or you are preferring to have series of workshops, like 1 month of a workshop, for example, with the same community for maybe a little bit deeper transformation more than a taster?
Yeah, so I started the AIM Society in 2023 the 5th of January, and it was always something that I wanted to do.
Hmm.
I wanted to take all of this bulk of knowledge and take it back home and say, "Yeah, we go, let's do this." Um, and so no, so it started off with tasters in the last 4 years. The last 2 years, tasters testing, seeing what works. So we've taken what works. So the AIM Society is a multidisciplinary company, an organization or foundation um, that tends to amplify the cultural landscape of Manenberg, where I'm from. And so we are now building consistent practice. So we have film screenings of local films and movies for kids and families. And now next year we will be having. So I did the dance school in 2024 for like 3 months to see how it works, so I can figure out how to work in the area. So now 2026 we'll do the full program for the rest of my life and for as long as Art in Manenberg can exist.
Yeah.
With or without me. Those are the things. So at the most, so it has to be consistent because people who are marginalized often experience inconsistencies within the system. And for me, I've reflected that over the last 2 years operating, it would be a disservice. This is now 3 years now. It would be a disservice to start something and not finish it or not keep it going. And so it's building consistency, you know, in a systematic way so that people can experience something artistic, but also know that it's there for their benefit and there for their definitely technical training, but also healing and um, release and repair and redemption of some kind of inner personhood. Um, So now consistency, we're building a movement, we're building a structure, we're building an empire in Manenberg, we're building something that shifts and changes the perception of Manenberg that is in Cape Town, in South Africa, a very tough area. It's known for a lot of crime and drugs.
Yeah.
It's very tough history in the mainstream. So what the AIM Society has now successfully started doing is shifting that perspective. And I think we're gonna continue doing it. It's not about the money. I want the money. I want to get the money to make the money.
Yes,
The work,
yes, to make
but
it
it's not.
possible.
Yes, and to employ people and to bring people in. But for me, as a person, as Darion, I can do it for free. I don't even have to be performing anywhere if this is what I can do. It's more than just a job. It's more than just something that I can capitalize on. Is something that's necessary, that fuels me, that makes me happy. So it's something that I will do consistently. And I then now, as a director of this project, I do all of my professional work through the project now. All of
Hmm.
as outside of a working artist, anything that I make, think of, dream, if it's anything artistic, it's through the AIM Society.
Yeah, to in this foundation, so you are collaborating with other artists, and there are people for administration, and then so you create just not like a workshop place, but you create a structure.
Yes, I started off doing it on my own. I was the everything producer, writer, the social media. That was everything. The choreographer, the dancer, the manager of the dancer. Oof, yeah. It was a really. I really needed to do it, but this year I started training people in the community to run it. So shifting away from getting. There are people who can do this job who support these young people who are actually working in capacity roles, but I've spent the time over this year training them before we actually implemented anything. So we did smaller projects that would have them do the work and understand the administration. We did short courses together. We did a whole lot of things that would build their capacity for the large scale work. So yeah, I've got a team now, and a team of people in and from the community who understand how I function and focus as an artist, because I am one and I want what I want and I'm desiring this thing and I wish that they could see the dream that I want to happen. And so I work with a team now. And as
Yeah.
people that I've trained and I've earmarked in the community who are unemployed, who can't make, who come from difficult backgrounds and homes, who need it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really great because I think it's also encouraging
Mm.
people who don't have a job, who don't have a career, who don't have really as strong social
Yeah.
bonds, because we need hope, and I think this kind of projects are hope in action.
Mm.
Um, I want to ask you, as an indigenous and queer artist, what does your body carry that history books don't?
Oh my God. What if my body carry that history books don't? So I recently had a conversation now here in France on the tour one evening with some of my friends, some of my black friends, let me be specific. Um, and we were just talking about Sipenati, one of the artists was mentioning that we carry seven le- generational legacies with us.
Hmm.
So from me and seven generations back, that's who we walk with. And nothing that we own in this world is actually ours because it was offered to us by these seven generations. And everything we do and say comes from these seven generations. Everything we are today is by generationally um, gifted to us by these people. And we should not dishonor anything in this world or anything in our immediate world and the people that we are surrounded by. Um, so I carry a history, a very tough history of erasure, and I carry questions that I can only answer by way of experiencing it through movement because that is all I can do. I carry my mother's dementia at the moment. I
Hmm.
carry the family responsibility. I carry the aloneness of being queer. I carry abuse. I carry so many things that make up the things that I speak of when I work, when I interact with people. I carry the need to understand that my silence is okay sometimes because I'm quite radical. Um,
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I'm very radical. I will say some things that needs to be said and have no fear about being unemployed because it needed to be said and I will say it. In a larger societal, not just to my boss kind of way. But so I carry seven generations of joy, love, beauty, and pain, and hurt, and trauma. I carry all of that with me. And all I can do is understand what that means for me in my life. I don't understand. But I see the signs sometimes at a very with a spiritual lens when I'm connected. But sometimes I'm not because there was also an ancestor that was a baddie who was dancing, who was playful and childlike. And then there's an ancestor who's quite poised and very regal about the way they operate. So whenever I am in certain states, I'm becoming aware that often it's not me, that it is in my generation for me to act in certain ways, um, it's just been a very beautiful and profound lesson, especially coming from a place where my people's languages were forced out. People were forced to not speak their language to eat and survive, and people
Yeah.
killed and murdered, and their land was taken. So to have that sort of recall of power through my lineage and understanding that seven generations exist within me in this very present moment makes me recognize that there is spirituality around me and within me, even though mainstream society in South Africa and in the world does not want to recognize the indigenous way of being. That because half of it doesn't exist, but it doesn't exist because we have murderers and violent people who are leading us. Yeah.
Yes, that's all the things you told me now, it's very touching. I mean, personally, I am also feeling the need of little bit of digesting, but on the
Mhm.
other side, it's very familiar as well. So, indigenous people are has been shared as similar stories under the effect of colonialism. Doesn't matter who is the colonial power, but the styles and the behaviors are many times the same, like banning the language, displacing people, changing names, and many, many similar things. And then you're so right about these several generations of a legacy, which reminds me
Beautiful.
a dance piece that I did when I was living in Berlin. It was at the first year, it was a little bit of a shock because it was very individual culture. And although I had some friends, but deeply I was feeling lonely. And
Mm.
then I made a dance piece called I Am 100. So I wasn't just me as individual, but I have all these people, the friends and the family and the generations with me. And when even we are walking in the street alone, we are not alone. I just want to signify that. And then I'm hearing a common needs and then reality. And then I think the dance, the indigenous cultures contribution to dance is just now it has been started to appreciate it with the somatic work, because indigenous people had natural tendency to listen the earth and to feel the earth, and then live with the earth in a holistic way more than a rational mind set cultures. So I am hoping now this culture is changing somehow. And then I personally been in a places where indigenous cultures were more banned, and then here in England I was mainly supported to use my indigenous language in my master's studies. So it's good to see these both sides, and then to make a choice to empower your journey, your direction, because many times we are going from the direction has been chosen less.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's why it's alone for some time. Yeah.
Yes. But as long as we keep choosing it and keep amplifying it through the means we can, that's all, and that's if that's all we can do, then amazing. Yeah.
Yes, it is amazing. And then I want to ask you what your dance resists you to forget.
But my dance resists me to forget my power. My power. I think I'm gonna leave it there. My power, my power, my power. It's a superpower to understand that you've got a whole life span of work weight on your shoulders. And it's powerful to feel that. Yeah. It's empowering to be you and whatever story you carry. And as long as it doesn't hurt anyone, it's very powerful.
Very nice. Thank you. And then let's go to the stories of little bit of otherness. Have you ever felt other in your field or practice? And how does this shape your expression?
Yes, completely and utterly othered often, to be honest. I think by way of the way I perceive the world by way of, I think a lot of people confuse care and activism. Uh,
Hmm.
because I believe I care enough to understand that someone needs to act in a way that changes the lives of marginalized people. I do not sit well with abuse, and I do not sit well with exclusion, especially even if it is from anyone, person of color to person of color, or whatever type of system that wants to marginalize anyone. I've often felt that I'm excluded in the arts community in Cape Town because I'm either too radical or I'm either choosing to not work because I'm that's not enough money to work with.
Yeah, yeah.
So I feel that often. I've often gone to watch my friends perform in shows that they've never had to audition for. Um, so which means I didn't have to audition. I dance exactly like them. So I've often felt by way of the way I operate and perceive the world and speak up for things has created places of exclusion. But I realize now more than ever to continue speaking up. um, and that makes me unique and individual, and that doesn't make me unemployable because, as you can see, I'm employed, I'm in France, I'm living an artistic life. So I felt the exclusion quite largely, often. I don't know how to explain it, and I don't think I want to mention any people or places or things, but I felt it, and I felt it because I care about the world. I'm often made fun of. Ah, there's the activist in my face in my life, and I often say you should try it. You should try doing something for other people outside of yourself. Um, so I've experienced that quite a lot just because I care. I care about things being done in the right way, and now that I've built a life for myself that's specifically around arts and activism, I'm okay and content with it now. But if I have felt left out, excluded. I felt the pain of watching other people do beautiful things, and I'm like, but I can do beautiful things too. And if I've always wondered about my value because of it, but I think that was when I was much younger. I'm 33, and I was 33 the other day. um, what that means for me, and if it's me that I'm the problem, I should. So I've done all the things about dimming my light, making myself smaller, not saying anything, trying to fit in, trying to get a job, trying to find my way, and up until I've leaned onto what I felt like when I lean onto the things that are important to me, I succeed. When I lean onto others, I'm excluded. So I've decided to lean onto whatever I'm doing, and I'll be successful in the ways that success is important to me. But I felt it really deeply, and I've always questioned. I used to question my involvement in this industry as someone that is multifaceted and that can offer this industry and Cape Town industry such a lot.
Yeah.
Because I'd work in so many roles. I've worked hard enough to work in so many roles to not be unemployable. But I think people felt intimidated by that multi-skilled, multiple problem-solving nature of mine, that they didn't want me there. And now they will never have me.
It's not about you, but it's about the system there, because when there is not enough sustainable system, artists had to do everything, which is not very preferable, which is
Mhm.
tiring, which is taking your energy from your creative time. But
Yes.
it's about the system, and I hope the community there can be aware of that, because which is happening not only Cape Town, in many other
Yeah.
places.
And
And
I think,
we need a sustainable systems, uh,
yes,
for better quality of artist life, to having that, instead of bullying the kind of more successful or hardworking ones, and
yes.
the ones who are doing everything, which is, I'm telling you, not a preferable. I'm
Mm.
very familiar from this. And then, Darion, in this context, working in your homeland, which is a bit difficult, and now you're employed in France, and you recently received the Pina Bausch Fellowship. Can you say you are feeling more accepted in Europe, and how this is happening somehow, these dynamics for you?
Is it is an interesting place to be in because I'm just starting building this relationship between myself and Europe and with my company in Europe. So I can't really answer the question now, and hopefully one day we'll speak again, and so they can actually answer it for you. The Peanut Bausch Fellowship asked for time, and they gave me time, and I'll be sharing what I'm doing in my community with this audience now, and I think it's an opportunity to expand my practice for that's and speak from this lens more powerfully and with truth and no restriction. So I find that I'm able to share who I am and where I come from by way of the artistic experiences that I make with a different audience. So I'm hoping that it thrives, and I'm hoping that I can build a solid bridge. But I can't. It's new, the fellowship, my relationship with Moya Michael, my relationship with this contract, and it's been a year. I've been traveling a lot this year, but it's all this year. It's all
Yeah.
fresh and new. And it comes back to when I said, I'm going to speak from my lens and I'm creating experiences from my lens. Then I succeed a lot. Then I get opportunities more. So it's new, it's fresh. And I'm taking it one day at a time and one movement and practice and conversation at a time. And I'm letting the universe, the ancestors, God lead it to what it needs to be. And I'm not in control of it. Because
Mhm.
as a control freak, multifaceted person, I know what it feels like to not understand what's happening. But I am witness to this thing. And I find it completely wonderful that I'm able to take my work and myself because I've not been taken abroad by my industry. I'm able to take it and do it myself. Great, perfect. It's exactly where I need to be, exactly what I need to achieve, exactly the kind of things I should be doing because the signs are now there and they're actually happening.
Yeah, that's really sounds perfect because sometimes as a very busy artist, we need to let things to fall into their places and release a bit as well. What does visibility means for you?
As a radical activist, it means you can't get rid of me. Mm. You cannot exclude me. You
Yes.
cannot ostracize me and my people and our story. You cannot minimize who we are and where we come from by way of visibility. And if visibility only means I'm standing in the room and that's all I'm doing, then great, let me stand in the room. It means you cannot erase me because 7 generations are standing with me, so I need to be there. Visibility is very important. Everything I do in my community is about creating, bringing this artistic visibility from a black and brown lens to the people so that they can see themselves reflected in the art so that we can move on to creating spaces of um, active participation in who we are as people and we must be seen.
So I'm understanding visibility is not a singular something for you. It is plural way of being. It's your generations, it's your community, including you. That is nice to hear.
Yes, yes, yes. We come with so much, and the mainstream capitalist system does not want us to speak about truth and our real life because it doesn't fit this model of perfection and modern capitalism. So me saying that I come from a poor background and I am now a working artist is often not heard because people want to see me on stage and that's it. But when I say I'm poor and I live in a community where people are hungry, that's our reality, not my performance. The performance is my job. That's what I do for work, for love, and for community. And often it's about, oh no, you have to be professional. No, baby, I'm hungry. I'm hungry. We're hungry. Understand that we're hungry. Don't minimize our truth. So, visibility is truth, man. Visibility is understanding that it's not just a person, it's their life. Who is Lerna? And where does she come from? And what does she eat? And what is she struggling with? And what makes her really happy? And when she's happy, who is she when she's happy? And who is she when she's not happy? And can we hold space for her in all of that? Often we're just fast food of people. Yeah, you come in, you dance, you go. I'm very happy for the
Yeah.
last few years. I've been dancing with people who care about me. Because now I can actually have a regulated nervous system and an experience rest and silence and not be no need to fight. So that is what visibility is for me. It's quite layered.
That is so important because many times in the performing arts scene, and especially in the places where there is not enough like human rights or the let's say the resources, the money for dance, they mostly ask you to dance, and you just need to be grateful just because you had a chance to dance. And I think nobody asked this question like what you gonna eat. They don't want to intermingle with these questions, which is not ethical to ask people to do things for free for his or
Mm,
her survival or for the continuity of the field. It's not good for the industry as well. And it has been, I think, kind of a habit to ask things for free or with a little money, and it was mostly rude to ask or mention about these things like what you will be your income. So I hope in future or these days it can go through more professional point of view, and then appreciate the dancers, artists who put their nerve system, their soma, their imagination, their physical power, effort for these fields. So thanks for sharing this with a very bare explanation, like very pure explanation. I want to go to a little bit of the geography to the land and ask you, how does the land shape your dance and your movement?
I'm trying to think. It's interesting because when now in France, Ciprianati, a colleague, and I decided to make a project, a video project, because we're in France, we're like, why not? We don't know what it is we're making, but we'll make it. And it's interesting how we're responding to the environment here. We are responding from a place of, I think there's a little bit more lightness in our step, whereas at home, you'd have to insert lightness in a different way. So I and it's interesting because I've been in and out of Cape Town at the moment. So but I'm very connected to where I come from.
Mhm.
Where I come from is very important to me, and the kind of background and upbringing that I have is quite specific to me, and it's my story and it's my nature, and that me landing in that and as an adult, unashamed of that story, means that where I come from speaks to other people, and that's because of its honesty. It's okay. So I respond to spaces based on the space and how I feel in the space. At home, the land. I mean, they keep back our land if necessary, but they're not if necessary. Give back the damn land, but. I respond to the land as a precarious thing that often you're scared to talk about because it's not owned by you and you have no right to claim it because some white capitalist, colonialist, systematic power structure holds it because you don't have power to have it. So I've missed that portion in my life where that is something that I actually have a connection to.
What is your relationship between your body and more than human world?
It's interesting to be living with an understanding that people have had a different life before you, like my parents and my mom. Um, and then me being born in 1992, I've experienced quite a bit of a transition into this hyper technological world. Um, and it's interesting how performance was quite very tactile before it became this hyper athletic experience.
Hmm.
Me as a working person, because the works that I am employed in are very technical, highly technical, and I respect those choreographers for their work. I love it. I'm obsessed with it. So I live in this modern context, and I know no other life. So it's interesting because I also work in a place where people have very little access to this heightened nature of working. So I'm often operating between the two. So I'm always like pendulum swinging from one end of bringing access to this experience and making sure I am able to continue working in a field that's evolving. So yeah, my body in the modern context is quite. I ebb and flow between experiences, and I'm also multiple people in a day. So I go from teacher, dancer, choreographer, performer, director in one day sometimes. And
Yeah.
often they're mixed up together and I'm like, where am I? Yeah. So this modern context is interesting for independent working artists because you're often finding yourself stressed and chaotic and burnt out. I'm already burnt out. I can feel it.
Yeah. And in between this all these roles, and when you're working in a field, do you have any connection with maybe the plants or the animals? Do you have any connection or inspiration with them or the rocks and stuff?
Yes, I live in Cape Town. It's a coastal city. So there's a beaches all the time. So I go to the beach, I give a coin to the beach, I introduce myself, and I sit and I rest and I look at the sea. That's my favorite thing to do in the world is look at vast open spaces. I go for walks. I don't necessarily have a spiritual practice that's truly connected to the land, but my understanding is growing more and more about how nature actually plays its role through the conversations I have with other artists who are now also seeing their connection to the land a bit more and the spaces a bit more. But yes, I love the beach. It's my space to breathe. I go to the beach at least once a week,
Yeah.
um, just because there's a class that I attend close to the beach, and then I get to take a moment to breathe and overlook and see a wide space enough for me to take on the rest of my life for that week. Yeah.
Yeah. And then what would you like younger generations to remember or reimagine?
That they live in the world that doesn't want them to be themselves, and they're gonna have to. They have. I hope that they realize that the only way they can function in this world is to understand who they are, and who they are could be from. There are millions of explanations you can give yourself. You can be a soul. You can be a spirit. You can be a person. You can be this, that, and the other thing. As long as they know what they are for themselves and they keep on calling themselves to themselves and they are able to look at themselves, find themselves sitting in the mirror, feasting on their life because they were proud of who they are and where they come from, they'll be okay.
Okay.
And make money, unfortunately, make money. But know who you are for yourself. It's not about other people because then people can't walk all over you.
Yeah, maybe we should stop up labeling the money as a bad thing.
That's not a
Be-
bad thing. Make money.
yeah.
Make money. You need
Okay.
money. Mhm.
Yeah. The last question. If you could design a world where your dance was fully seen and valued, what would be your dance or choreography would look like?
What I'm seeing and what I've seen for a while for this choreography is that, and it's also going to be the start of this practice during the fellowship, is that working with a blend of dancers and a blend of normal human people outside of dancers in the same space and that valued still as a very what we call it high level form of art, um, but then it would be that the dancing and dances of my mom and her generation would be the way that the contemporary dance would be structured and rehearsed and all of that. And then it would also be dance in community. And a lot of this theater and high level things would be the community and the people that need it would see it and experience it, and it would be offered there and not necessarily in these top notch theaters that we call state of the arts. Is that the state of the arts is where the people are. So communities have thriving cultural centers, um, thriving cultural environments where the arts is not just advocated for, it exists, it's practiced in every systemic place, like a school, a cultural center. And my choreography would be literally this dance the same way my mom danced, and that story being the sort of look and the aesthetic of the language. And then that is taken between these spaces all the time. It is done in community in the same way that it's done at a state of the art theater. And it travels the world.
Yeah. So the main thing is the sincerity and authenticity, what I'm understanding from the basis of your choreography, uh,
Yes,
beyond the technique. Yeah.
yeah. And then as a contemporary dancer,
Yeah.
that it's the technique that I have now does has its place, but then the technique that I'm embodying from this kind of excavation work with the people has its place and its value as well. Yeah.
Yeah. You're right. You're right. Okay, Darion, thank you very much for this lovely talk and spending your time with me, with joining to this podcast. I'm sure people who watch or listen this will get their inspirations, and we realize different point of views, or maybe will find lots of common point of views, and they might feel some empowerment in this transitional, little bit of a chaotic times of the world. So I wish you the best in your performances and projects, and then with this fellowship. I'm sure it will be wonderful for you and for your community, since you are not acting just for yourself. And then good luck for everything. Thank you for your time again.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It's been wonderful sharing with you, and thank you for reaching out and and showing us that we could bridge worlds by way of this technology that we have here. And thank you for making a dances for us podcast. Yes. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you for listening to Dances of Us podcast. I hope you enjoyed our time together. Before we close, take a moment to check in with your body. How do you feel right now? Which parts wanted to move? Remember, the body holds stories, and it has the power to transform them too. I'm your host, Lerna Babikyan. Take care and see you next time.